This lecture is over the endocrine system chapter in your medical terminology textbook. If you turn to your beginning of the chapter and follow along, what I really want to talk about here at the beginning when we talk about anatomy and physiology in the endocrine system is really seeing these bold terms here that say endocrine glands and exocrine glands and knowing the difference between the two. And in the margin here in my textbook, I have a reminder for myself. Endo means within, and exo means out. Okay, so endocrine glands, when you look at that sentence there, it says no matter which hormones they produce, secrete their hormones directly into the bloodstream. Exocrine glands send chemical substances via ducts to the outside of the body. Okay, so there's the differences between those two. And you can read through, they talk about EPO or erythropoietin here, the human chorionic gonadotropin, okay, cholecystokinin, prostaglandins here. They go through the thyroid gland, the adrenal glands, the pancreas, the pituitary, the ovaries and testes closely, but they had their own chapter, as you know. But really, table 18.2 has it's a great all-inclusive table for you to look. Here's all the different endocrine glands. Here's their hormones and their actions or functions. Okay, that's a great table, kind of an overview there. And then again, your yellow vocab boxes kind of go on forever right here in this chapter before we can get to our blue boxes for the actual language. So we have combining forms here, and it says glands. So we have adeno, adrenalo, gonado, pancreato, parathyroido, pituitaro, and thyroido. Okay? Then we have combining forms for related terms. So andro, meaning male, calso or calcio, cortico, crino, dipso, meaning thirst, estro, gluco, glyco, homeo, meaning sameness. So you look at that term there, it says homeostasis. Okay, it says the suffix stasis means controlling, and I would write in, and sometimes we don't get a very great literal definition, as we know, but homeostasis would be to control sameness. If I like homeostasis, I want everything to stay the same, and that makes me happy. Okay, we have hormono, Kali with an I there, K-A-L with an I, lacto, mixo, and natro for sodium. Potassium and sodium have watch boxes. Make sure you look down below. It says in patients' medical records or charts, potassium is abbreviated as K, and sodium is abbreviated as Na. As electrolytes, they are written as K and the Na with the plus there. So it kind of helps you sometimes with those. We have physo, somato, stero, toco, toxico, and euro. And then we have some suffixes, agon, emia, in, tropin, and urea. The prefixes here that are listed are u, eu, okay, meaning good or normal. Sometimes they use that term euthyroid there. It just means you have a normal thyroid, right? And I always thought that was the funniest thing in medical records to say he is euthyroid because it looks like it's bad. Oh no, what's that? It means normal. Okay. Hyper and hypo, we've had these before. Oxy, pan, poly, tetra, and tri. Okay. When we look at pathology and issues here, they start talking first about a goiter, okay, which is good for you to read about. Prevention, of those kind of issues is putting iodine, so iodized salt in our diet, that you'll see the iodized salt. We need more iodine. Hyperthyroidism is talked about, the exophthalmos and proptosis. You want to make sure you understand those bold terms. Hyperparathyroidism is excessive production of the parathormone. They talk about calcium, too much circulating there causing stones. Adrenal viralism is listed next. Cushing syndrome. Addison disease would be hyperpigmentation. Okay, if you read through that paragraph. Really pay attention here to the diabetes mellitus. We've got a type 1 and a type 2 if you read through all of this for diabetes. Make sure you really pay attention to the type 1 versus type 2. What's the difference? Type 1, it says, is an autoimmune disease. Mostly times this happens in younger age, so early childhood. It has to do with type 1 diabetes is watery secretion. Type 2 diabetes is more of an insulin and sugar type issue, and you can read about the insulin resistance and things like that as well. So type 1 and type 2, the table 18.3 is really good there. It talks about type 1 and type 2, their symptoms, things like that. Going on, we talk about acromegaly on the next page, and they give some good images there. Gigantism, and then opposite, dwarfism. Diabetes insipidus, so that's another type of diabetes, so diabetes insipidus, so make sure you would know all three of those types. And then we have lab tests and the abbreviations kind of at the end here. So lab tests, clinical procedures are all really good for you to review. And then in the abbreviations, I've got a few that I would kind of star as being the most common. I would use DM for diabetes mellitus. And again, if it is DM, it's DM type 1 or DM type 2. FBS for fasting blood sugar, again, is very, very common. And then I would circle or star the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH is a very common blood test. And then I have two written in that they didn't use, and I wish they would have. And you can write them in at the bottom of your page too. It's IDDM. IDDM, that's an abbreviation, and it stands for insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus. IDDM, insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus. And then we have NIDDM. N as in Nancy, IDDM. Non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Those are two abbreviations I would have you write in there and make sure that you can recognize and know what they mean.